talk to your insurance broker and ask them if you're covered for AI. If they can't answer that, you need to find a new broker, because that means your broker's not keeping up with the industry trends.
Right.
What you may not be aware of is that majority of all the big insurance brokerages and some of the smaller ones like regional brokerages or non-standard E&S carriers are starting to exclude AI on general liability policies. Probably by the end, probably this time next year, most every carrier will have an AI exclusion on the general liability.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Mission Secure podcast. This is part 2 with Caden Braly. So talk to me about, what happens from your perspective when a cyber incident happens, when someone walks into their office, maybe it's a business email compromise and they mistakenly wire money straight to the criminals. Maybe it's they come in and their systems are encrypted and they're dealing with ransomware. I want to talk about incident response plans and what that looks like, because I know from your perspective, if you have a cyber liability policy, a lot of those, as you mentioned, people and processes are already in place. So you reach out to your insurance agent, and you have a forensics team, and you have a breach attorney, and you have a lot of these pieces in place. So talk to me about what that looks like. What are those first few hours after a cyber attack happens? What from the insurance side? What's going on back there?
Yeah. So the first thing that you do is try to mitigate what is possible. Stop the bleeding, right? Mm-hmm. Don't try to start surgery, right? Don't try to fix it yourself, because you'll probably screw something up more, but stop the bleeding. What do you do when you stop the bleeding? You call 911, call your agent saying, hey, I have something going wrong. I just wired $250,000 and I thought it was somebody, and the client that I just spoke with on the phone said they didn't get the money. Mm-hmm. Okay. Hey, our system is shut down and we are getting communication saying that they are not going to let our systems go back up until we pay them $1 million. Mm-hmm. Okay. Call your agent. A good cyber agent should know who to call immediately, because this is not we'll file the claim, wait a few days, sometimes general liability claims can be like that, where it's like, we'll file it, we'll get the process started. It's like, no, every minute or every hour that this continues to go on is money that will be added onto your claim that will then decrease the amount of coverage you have available. Mm-hmm. So you call the insurance agent. We have lines on the insurance policy, and if you're a insured or a client, you can look, and there's certain things like, call this to file a claim. You can call it yourself. At our agency, we prefer to file cyber claims for our clients. If it's like a small auto insurance claim, we could say, hey, you call them. They would much rather talk to you to get the full story. We call them. We say, hey, we have an active cyber incident. We need to get on this now. I recently had a client, a software client, who had a major issue, and we called and got on. He emailed me at 4 a.m. because they had a breach, and by 8 a.m. on Sunday, we were on a call with the attorney panel. That's what we do. We will be, depending on, if I'm asleep, obviously my phone's I'm not going to wake up, right? But as soon as I get up and I see that email, I know that I have a responsibility to call the carrier. The carrier will then get in touch with the panel. The panel is, the insurance appointed attorneys that are specific for cybersecurity. Don't try to get your attorney involved that helps, just with your business planning. They don't know what to do. They're cybersecurity attorneys. That's all they do all day long. And they will start asking questions. They will get in touch with the cybersecurity incident response team that will start to get in your system to figure out what's going on and try to patch it. There's different things that will go on. Like if you have a ransomware event where they've shut down or holding your systems hostage and they're not going to give you money until they pay out, that's a little bit more of a longer process. But if it's a data breach, a data leak, they will get started quickly, and you have to be ready for it. Again, if you don't have an agent that knows what they're doing, it's going to be a terrible, terrible process for you.
Yeah. We know time is of the essence. You have to stop, don't do anything. Like you said, we've had companies try to, maybe they have an IT person or even a small IT department that's not specialized in cybersecurity. We've seen them try to, wipe systems and restore prematurely, and that's actually deleted critical evidence that would be needed later for the forensics investigation. So we always say stop, call, and wait. Like those three things. It is that simple. And time is absolutely of the essence. You don't want to put it off. If it happens, a lot of cyber events happen on Friday evening, a holiday weekend, anytime you're in a vulnerable position, running on a skeleton shift, maybe, not everybody's at the office. That's when, criminals like to attack. And so, we say, stop, don't do anything, because we help with recovery. We're going to come in and help you contain and isolate, but stop, call, and wait. Don't do anything foolish. Don't do anything that could hurt that evidence that's later going to be needed by the insurance company or by the forensics team, or that's going to be needed by the lawyer to prove what happened. But people panic. Going back to the whole why it's important to have an incident response plan. You want your actions in those moments after a cyber attack to be from muscle memory. You don't want to be figuring out who makes the call to the insurance agent, who engages forensics, who calls the clients, who notifies the customers. That is not the time to be figuring out, whose role it is and whose responsibility it is. And those are not just technology and IT decisions. They're not things you can just dump on your IT department. Those are leadership decisions. And that's why we say cybersecurity is not just a technology issue. It is a leadership issue, and it has to come from the top down. And I think it's really important that we continue to speak to leaders. So number one, do you have an incident response plan? Who is your first call? Do you know? If you don't, that's where you start right there. But number two, is your incident response plan sitting on a server that can be encrypted along with everything else?
Yeah.
Is your incident response plan sitting in a file cabinet gathering dust? Just a pile of paper. Either way, having an incident response plan and working with an agency like yours and working with insurance companies, I know that's one of the things that you help do. You help have that process in place. You have that team in place. You have those phone numbers in place. So I think it's just really interesting that from the cybersecurity side and from the insurance side, it's kind of like I think you called us a team. I think I kind of consider us two pieces of a protection puzzle. We're going to help proactively, try to avoid all of those cyber incidents from happening. But of course, we know, especially with the advent of AI and how fast things are moving, these attacks are coming faster and craftier than ever. They're so hard to detect. Even the most educated, leader, even the most educated accounting person can fall for these scams because they are so realistic and so good now. They're not coming with misspellings. They're not coming with, from obvious places with obvious mistakes in them. And so, criminals are getting in through admittedly human errors. And that's because we are human. So having your people educated, yes. Having your incident response plan in place, yes. Knowing who your cybersecurity team is, a team of specialized cybersecurity. And then having your cyber liability policy, not just an endorsement, not just an add-on to your general liability policy. That's not going to cover it.
Yeah.
And so I love, thinking of us as two pieces of that protection puzzle that are working together to help business owners stay one step ahead of the criminals.
Yeah. Andy at UConn will always say the biggest threat to any company is the people themselves, right? The biggest threat, any cyber threat to any company, is the people themselves clicking on a link they shouldn't, not looking at the email. He's like, you can kind of tell a little bit if there's some sort of phishing email, but a lot of people don't. They don't have any training in place to help prevent that. Which, guess what?
Right.
That's a question on your cyber application. Do you have cyber awareness training in place?
Good point.
Are they going to decline a claim because you didn't have cyber awareness training? I don't know. I'm not the insurance carrier. They can really do, if they felt like it, they probably could. But it's a big deal for the people to learn how to spot things, how to look at those emails, text messages, different, notifications that pop up on your computer, not clicking them, verifying. Like our team, just internally with the insurance company or Braly Insurance, we have training that we do every year, minimum of once a year. Sometimes it's more. If we ever have an incident, we do that. We do it again. That's just from us as a business. It's so important because of all the claims that have happened ever, I'll put money 25 to 40% of them were because someone did something wrong initially, not because it was, nothing you could prevent. It was someone clicked something, someone sent something, and the list goes on and on. But another thing I wanted to touch on too, you said something about AI, and this is something that is really coming up in the insurance industry. How do you insure AI? Well, for everyone listening, I highly request that you go talk to your insurance broker and ask them if you're covered for AI. If they can't answer that, you need to find a new broker, because that means your broker's not keeping up with the industry trends.
Right.
What you may not be aware of is that majority of all the big insurance brokerages and some of the smaller ones like regional brokerages or non-standard E&S carriers are starting to exclude AI on general liability policies. Probably by the end, probably this time next year, most every carrier will have an AI exclusion on the general liability. Here's the further part, and that's that is you internally use AI, meaning you don't sell AI product, you don't sell anything like a product with AI baked in. So you use ChatGPT, you use Claude, all of those companies, and you have it send something in an email. And that email, say, hey, rephrase this email for me. And that messes up something. You send it to a client, and a client makes a decision based off of that email where you say, oh, well, ChatGPT, they messed up. That's on you. That's not good. You're not going to be able to sue Anthropic because of something that you didn't proofread. Second.
So are you telling me that AI helped me write that isn't a good enough excuse?
No, it is not. And I'll be honest, I do it often too. I review all my emails. I read them. Right.
Use it every day.
Yeah.
Use it every day.
The other part that's, kind of is a big thing for more of the software tech companies. If you're an MSP using AI, agentic AI, 99% of the time, your cyber insurance policy is not going to cover that. Your cyber insurance policy is not going to cover that. Some of them will. Okay. Me and the team at UConn, we've worked with a few carriers that are starting to slowly put some AI endorsements that are proactive, which is good.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And if you are a software company that sells an AI product, you should definitely go look at your cyber policy, because I'm 99% confident you won't be covered for anything that you do.
So do you foresee, we have cyber liability policies, how do you get coverage? Do you foresee AI liability policies becoming like a standalone policy that's going to be coming, or companies even writing those? How do you cover yourself from an AI perspective?
They're already out there. There's some startup companies, startup insurance companies that are doing that. There's a few people we partner with at some wholesalers. A wholesaler is basically someone that has access to a ton of different insurance carriers. There are some companies that have been doing it for a while. It just hasn't gotten popular until all the insurance carriers started excluding coverage. And to be honest with you, it's expensive. I was on a call with a guy yesterday, and he said the average claim right now, I think he said, is $10,000 in premium per $1 million in revenue for an AI-based company. There's a company out there that's doing AI agent coverage. So if your agent specifically messes up, say I have a chatbot agent, and if they say something incorrectly, then it will go in, they'll, cover whatever the chatbot said incorrectly if it was, a bad claim. So yeah, and I'd say in the next year or so, AI insurance, separate from cyber liability and general liability, will be a whole industry, and it's very expensive right now. But usually over time, the prices start to kind of go down as AI gets more advanced. But it's still.
Well, right now, I would imagine that the insurance actuaries don't really have any data. There's nothing historical to base rates on. So they're probably just guessing, like taking a stab in the dark, basically, on what those rates need to be.
Yeah.
So AI, everybody's rushing to use AI. Everybody in the MSP industry is rushing to, do AI advisory services and create, AI bots and AI agents that are doing things. So right now, one of the things we're focused on is having secure use of AI. If you're using AI in any way, you have got to build security into it.
Mhm.
It's got to be a secure use. So, are you seeing any AI claims come through yet, or is it still just way too new for that?
It's still pretty new for that right now.
Okay.
You're totally right
But
about
it's
that.
not covered on the cyber liability policy. You are not getting any AI coverage from any type of policy right now.
So the answer is yes and no.
Okay.
On the general liability, there are things coming out that are very straightforward. We will not cover anything from AI related
Mhm.
anything. Cyber liability is a different story because there's this gray area in the insurance industry. If you have a cyber, just any general insurance policy that's at what we call a special or all perils rating factor, meaning
Right.
the term we use is everything is covered except what is specifically excluded in writing on the policy. Now, if
Okay.
you don't have anything
Yes.
on AI listed,
Mhm.
is it covered?
It's implied.
Yeah, it's implied that it could be, but there's this
Mhm.
gray area where it doesn't specifically exclude it, but it doesn't specifically include it as like a
Include
coverage
it.
limit. And so you're going to have somebody in your corner that's like, well, here's what happened. Our Catherine on our team, there's nothing that specifically says this is excluded. So why are you not paying it? And then the insurance companies will come in, they'll try to fight it. And that's where we're getting all these insurance companies excluding coverage is because they've gone through these gray
Yeah.
area claims. Maybe not a lot of them,
Yep.
but they're seeing the writing on the wall that if this is becoming more common, we're not excluding it. Going to court, judge is going to rule in the client's favor because there's nothing that
Right.
specifically excludes it. And that's what special perils, all perils coverage is. Now,
Right.
a lot of the time that's devoted more toward like property based stuff, but it still can carry over
Sure.
into the liability based coverages. And they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
we can't afford this, especially if all the people putting personal data, PII into like ChatGPT and Claude, of which I don't
Mhm.
do that. Please do not do that. When you talk about having a
Mhm.
secure internal AI, we have one that's
Mhm.
specifically for insurance companies, like insurance brokerages. It's protected, it's secured. If you're just paying for the free version of ChatGPT and you're putting people's birthdays, emails, phone
Oh gosh.
numbers, names in
Yeah.
there,
No.
you good luck.
You're in trouble.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah,
trouble.
I do a lot of when I talk about AI, I do a lot of talking about the secure use of it, and you can't just use a public AI model and put proprietary or sensitive information in it because it's used to train those models. And you even have to be careful when you have, an enterprise version or, you still have to use AI securely. And I don't think people we're so excited. This is like the biggest thing that's happened since the internet. We all want to do more with less. We all want to be efficient. We all want to go to the next level, but people aren't thinking. I had a friend who almost uploaded her tax information. Taxes are complicated. Nobody likes taxes, and she almost uploaded her tax information to have ChatGPT help her file her taxes. And I was like, "Wait, please don't
Yeah.
do that. No, no, no." I foresee. This is fascinating to me. I'm going to be following this closely. I foresee um, this going down to court cases, and the minute insurance companies start having to pay out claims because it's, like you said, an all perils policy, everything's covered that's not specifically excluded, that's going to stop real fast. Those
Yeah.
actuaries are going to pick up.
Mhm.
That's I can see the AI liability policies, standalone policies like cyber liability coming out. That's really, really interesting perspective. I'm glad you brought that up.
Not a lot of people are listening because they're just like,
No, of course not.
oh yeah.
I know.
In the insurance world, we just have to accept that people are like, I could tell, like I've had clients where I have shown them, you were like, I had a land movement company. Like they clear land for home sites, like large home tracts.
Okay.
On their policy was very expensive. And a lot of people will say, oh, I don't want to move. I'm paying a low premium. Premiums tell a story to every insurance agent. If you are paying a significantly low amount of premium, we're talking like you're doing $5 million a year as a manufacturer of machines and your insurance is $500 a year. That's not right. Like logically and physically cannot compute, because the rates that the carriers file versus your revenue, the calculation won't add up. Doesn't add up to $500. Right. All that to say, when you're going into situations where, the carriers are denying claims and, we have people that come in and they're just like, oh, I don't want to move because I have this. I'm talking about the land clearing company. They had an exclusion on their policy called subsidence of land exclusion. You know what that means? Any claim that happens by movement of land is not covered.
Well, that's silly.
Yeah. And sometimes people could say, oh, well, it's natural movement of land. That wasn't in the policy language. It just said movement of land. And you best know the insurance attorneys are going to use that language against you if there is some claim. They had no clue.
Yeah.
So all of that to say, with your cyber insurance, it's just so important to have somebody that knows what they're reading, because the barrier of entry to become an insurance agent, very low. You have to be 18 years old and pass a test. And then guess what? You're licensed to sell any insurance policy in the world. You could go sell insurance to a multi-billion-dollar corporation if you were able to. And it's like, that's a lot of people think, oh, you must have gone through a lot of schooling, or, it's a big deal to have the financial stability of a company on their worst day. That's what I always say. Insurance is financially protecting companies on their worst day. And you're going to let someone who's been in the industry for 3 years be able to sell a multi-million-dollar policy to a complex organization. You need to be careful with who you trust that with.
I agree. I remember when I first got my agent's license, I certainly wouldn't have wanted to take that on. So, we talk about people, to kind of wrap things up, we talk about it being really hard to get people to listen. I can scream it from the rooftops from the cybersecurity side, and you can back up everything that I'm saying by what you're seeing on the reactive insurance claim side. How do we get through to people that this is the cost of doing business? And when we work together, when our industries work together, when you have proper cybersecurity in place, you're going to get better premiums. Like, other than, just the dollars and cents of that, you validating that premiums are lower, coverages are better, you do qualify for the right policy when you have security in place. Like, how can we work together and get this conversation out so people can listen? We specialize in helping with recovery. And just as I didn't like being on the reactive side of insurance, just from the business owner's perspective, it's really hard when you're helping people, like you said, on their worst days. Well, we're helping people on their worst days too. When they have a cyber incident, they're calling. Most of the time, people call us to help with recovery. And that's how we start a relationship. I so much want to be on the other side of it. You are working for a family business. I grew up working in a family business. We understand legacy. We understand the blood, the sweat, the tears, everything that goes into building a business. I just want to help business owners stay safe. But sometimes it feels like I'm talking to a wall.
Yeah. I mean, with insurance is the most expensive thing someone will buy without actually receiving anything for it. Up front, you're going to get nothing. You're going to pay thousands of dollars for what? Nothing. What you're paying for is the claim service and the claims payment if something goes wrong later. You're prepaying to be safe is what you're doing. So when we have to have someone purchase something and they're not receiving a physical asset or a physical service right up front, we go in and we offer other things. Like we'll offer, we have something called our Risk Advisor Connect. Risk Advisor Connect. It's a service that you get if you're a customer of ours, free of charge, where you can get free consulting on DOT, so Department of Transportation compliance. HR, that's the biggest one because a lot of companies don't have enough money to hire a chief HR officer. So if you're a trucking company, it's the same with the DOT, or you're a very manual labor, construction, oil and gas, manufacturing safety on those other policies is paramount. You are paying, if you don't have certain safety things in place, just a side note, you're probably paying 20% more than you should. Same thing with cybersecurity.
Yes.
The better cybersecurity you have, the more that us as agents can portray a story to the carrier that you are a better risk and deserve better premiums. It's the same thing on the safety side. If you have a bunch of if you're out of compliance on DOT multiple times, you have accidents, incidents, you have drivers that have terrible records, you have fatality claims, loss of limb claims. You're paying a lot more than you should. And then there's the fourth part of the Risk Advisor Connect, which is the claims, which is we don't recommend, we always recommend them calling us, but there's certain situations and we will actually call them for a little bit of advice. But that's free of charge for you. So you get an HR consultant free of charge just for working with us. That's something physical that we can provide. The next thing is going to be just resources, safety resources. A lot of times people don't realize that, if you've been in a workplace, at some place they have to put up the federal, wage thing picture. We can help provide that. A lot of people don't realize if you don't have that, you're out of compliance. Like I don't know how to explain that to you. Other things that we can do as an insurance agent, if we have this thing called a timeline of services. Over a 12-month span, we will have multiple contact points with you. If your agent is only reaching out to you 15 days before your renewal, first, that's not enough time to get you better quotes. I don't care who you're with. No. You're small Main Street America, restaurant, retail, salon, barbershop, you can get a quote pretty quickly with those. But if you're a decent, complex business, it's going to take 15 days at a minimum.
How long for cyber liability? How long do you recommend someone reach out for that?
So depends on the complexity of the business. If you're just a small business that's looking at cyber, you can turn something around probably 24, 48 hours. If you're a bigger, like those Main Street America companies that are, hey, we have a clothing store on Main Street in small town USA, you can get a quote back for those I'd say within the day. Now, is there going to be a lot of coverage? Because usually those companies don't have a lot of cybersecurity in place. Not really, but we have people contact us all the time and say, hey, I don't care about coverage. I just have a contract that I need to meet. And we had to say, okay, we're going to have you sign a piece of paper that understands that you probably don't have any coverage available. And they said, okay. And you know what? That's some people, that's their business strategy is they don't want coverage. They just want to get a contract. Your larger companies, MSPs, software, construction above 5 million in revenue a year, you're looking at a week to 2 weeks. Anything in healthcare, especially big healthcare, you're looking at 2 months minimum.
Yeah. What about a mid-sized practice?
Mid-sized healthcare practice?
Yeah. Anything HIPAA compliancy mandated? So
I recently wrote a cyber liability policy for a dentist. For 3-location dentist, he did about $4 million in revenue a year, and it took 24 hours. So it's
wow.
Well, and I'll say this: 24 hours from the time that you submit the signed application, not 24 hours from the call. Because I had people that would call saying, "Yeah," I said, "I'm going to send you an application, digital application, fill it out. Once it's completed, I'll get a notification. I immediately send it to the carrier, and they take 5 days." I'm like, "Well, why is this taking so long?" It's like, because you didn't get me the application immediately, like you said you would. It's also just dependent on size and cybersecurity posture too. If you have really, it may be beneficial for you to take a little bit more time to do it, because then I can convey a story better to the insurance carrier to show, like, okay, instead of just saying, "Do you have MFA?" What MFA do you have? Is it set up across the board for all internal and remote access? That's a big thing. If you don't have remote access, guess what? You don't have MFA. When they say, "Do you have MFA?" they said across all systems. That's the general.
It's a big one.
Yeah. And you want to, me as an insurance broker, I want to do right by my client, and I want to make sure that they're getting the best coverage possible. And that takes time. And if someone is saying, "Hey, I don't have that much time," I said, you may want to go somewhere else, because we only do things the right way. We don't cut corners. I would rather you not come to us and us sell you a bad policy than vice versa.
Yeah. No skipping steps.
Yeah.
Gosh, Caden, it's been such a great conversation. I'm just so grateful. I know you're a busy man. I know you have a baby on the way, and we are wishing you the best. If someone wants to reach out with you, continue this conversation, how do we get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can just search me on LinkedIn, send me a message, like Caden Braly, CadenBraly. You can also just call our office. Our website is Braly, BRALY, insurance.com. Call our office, ask for me. And my email is Caden, CADEN, at Braly, BRALY, insurance.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'll be sure to put all those details in the notes of the podcast as well. Well, Caden, you have a great rest of your day. And thanks so much for coming on. If you found value in this program, please share it with your connections, like and subscribe, help a girl out. And if you found value, I'm sure that your network will find value too. Until next time.